sea is everything. It covers 7/10 of the terrestrial globe. Its breath is pure and healthy. It is an immense desert where man is never lonely, for he feels life staring on all sides.
For whatever we lose, like a you or a me, it's always ourself we find in the sea.
The least movement is of importance to all nature. The entire ocean is affected by a pebble.
With every drop of water you drink, every breath you take, you're connected to the sea, no matter where on earth you live.
We are tied to the ocean, and when we go back to the sea, whether it's to sail or to watch, we are going back from whence we came.
The fishermen know the sea is dangerous and the storm terrible, but they have never found these dangers sufficient reason for remaining ashore.
Never a ship sails out of the bay but carries my heart as a stowaway.
Roll on, deep and dark blue ocean, roll. 10,000 fleets sweep over thee in vain. Man marks the earth with ruin, but his control stops with the shore.
Our oceans, deep, vast, exciting. They surround us, yet their exploration has only just begun. For centuries, humankind has ventured farther from shore and deeper into our oceans. Our oceans speak to us, and there is more than one story being told, more than one illumination of the deep, more than one revelation to unfold.
Well, why should we study the oceans? I think that's a great question. You know, a lot of our peers have pondered this question, and the reality comes down to the fact that we know more about the moon, we know more about Venus than we do about what's right in our backyard. We're depending on a system that we don't understand.
The ocean is incredibly important to the climate, to how, at least 50% of people live near the coast, so they interact with water on a regular basis.
It's the most powerful, important, and sustaining ecosystem on the planet.
You know, people all over the world gravitate to the coast and value the coastal environment. So I think those people are smart enough to know that, you can't have cowboys without horses. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but, it's hard to have oceanographers without ships.
The oceans are a major repository of biodiversity, many different types of organisms, animals. We don't even yet know all of them.
It's the least well-known part of our planet, and there are discoveries that are made almost every year of something new, either new species or some new process in the ocean. 20 years ago they discovered a whole new ecosystem they didn't know existed.
The oceans are beginning to give us a very powerful message about how much we've changed the environment.
We need to understand what's happening both to its life and to its chemistry. We need to understand the movement of ocean currents, mixing of waters, and we need to understand the ocean's interaction both with the atmosphere and with the lower boundary, the seafloor.
The first person who made it different for me was John Knaus. As a new faculty person here, I can remember many occasions of giving talks where John Knaus would sit in the audience with a bow tie and a big smile. He provoked a good spirit in people because I think he made all of us feel like we were doing something special.
Also looked as though we had a lot of enthusiasm behind us, so that in itself was encouraging for us to go and do things that we wouldn't have thought of doing otherwise.
It was a long time ago, but it was a period when there seemed to be support, federal support anyway, for science and oceanography and that kind of thing. And doing science is fun, mostly. We happen to be at the right place at the right time.
I remember when John Knaus came for his interview from Scripps, someone asked him, well, what can we do around here? He said, you can do anything just so long as it's good science.
That man deserves a lot of credit for the spirit that is here at the Graduate School of Oceanography.
We went from a kind of quiet, lackadaisical little marine laboratory into a hip oceanographic place, you know, where there was enthusiasm and people were enlivened in a lot of ways. It was spectacular at the time.
John was dean when I first came there. He's the one that hired me. And he was the dean that I followed, which was a very daunting experience, you can imagine, trying to follow John Knaus.
He believed so firmly in the future of oceanography, in the significance and the importance of oceanography to our nation and to the world. And John was persuasive, he was intelligent, but perhaps most importantly, he was not fearful about failing.
I hope people have told you about the boat burning. At the beginning of the school year, they wanted to have a party for the incoming students. And so it was a way to get rid of an old boat and have a celebration. Of course, there's a tradition that if you are going to defend your thesis, you have to jump over the burning boat. If you jump over the embers, then you'll successfully defend your thesis.
My hope as a faculty member was to try to produce people better than me.
Coming to GSO was like dying and going to heaven. The place is so beautiful, rural. We had Ruggles' house, where everybody hung out. It was so nice.
Every time I park my car and I'm running into my office, usually with my head a little bowed down, thinking about all that I have to do, and I get to the Coastal Institute and I look up and I see this ocean, and then I take 2 seconds every day just to say, wow, this is great.
For me, my colleagues are a big part of what makes being at GSO great.
I guess we're smaller, that's a benefit often, because you kind of know everybody.
If we were significantly bigger, that wouldn't be very practical, but we're just a nice size where we're big enough that we cover all the bases, the major bases, and yet we're small enough that people know each other and we can remain as one single department instead of being divided up.
Well, it's gorgeous. And sometimes the government does something right, so they built fortifications here, which meant it didn't get passed on to very wealthy people or built by realtors and developers, so it was sort of preserved.
I have to say, my first time on the campus was my first day as a graduate student, and I drove over the hill and you could see the ocean, and as soon as I saw that ocean I said, oh, you know, I could be here for about 4 years.
I think we all know each other pretty well. I think it is a strong community of people that mainly gets along really well and are productive together.
The great thing about being at GSO is there's a real interdisciplinary group of students, faculty, and researchers there.
And I think the talent is here in a way that's very unique. It has it has individuals that understand applied issues, how to build the instruments, how to make the measurements, and that's critical.
There's a famous physicist back in the 1890s something who said that all of physics has been discovered now. Anybody who thinks there's nothing more to discover is lacking in imagination.
Our beloved Senator Claiborne Pell in 1965 brought all of these marine ocean coastal leaders in Newport to talk about this dream of a network of sea grant institutions. And what's kind of remarkable is that when you actually trace it back, a lot of those dreams 50 years ago have become reality.
I think there is real hope that the tide can be turned, and through public education and the work of our students and others, the new generation, I think there really is hope that we can bring some sanity into our treatment of this fragile planet.
Whether you look near or far, whether you look from our Arctic seas in the north to our tropic seas, whether you look from the top of the food chain to the bottom of the food chain, wherever you look, our oceans are sending intense signals of distress.
Our job here at GSO is to share the information that the scientists are learning and put it in context.
And when I look back at what I was using in 1970 for my thesis work in the Gulf of Maine and compare it to what I have right now, it's like two cans in a string.
There's a great opportunity to bring some of the best minds and the best technology in the country to bear to solve these problems, as long as there's the will to do so.
The ingredients are there, and with a little bit of luck, we could really position ourselves to make a quite considerable contribution.
You want to make sure that those places are there for our children, because there's nothing as extraordinary as watching the faces of kids when they enjoy the beauty of those environments.
I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by.
For 50 years, the Graduate School of Oceanography at the University of Rhode Island has explored the depths of our oceans and remains a preeminent and extraordinary steward of oceanographic advancement. With missions to both explore and educate, the Graduate School of Oceanography is tackling some of the greatest challenges of our times, understanding and communicating the realities of climate change, adaptively managing our coastal zones, and improving undersea exploration technologies. The Graduate School of Oceanography is dedicated to its mission, a source of pride in our state, and occupies a unique niche in the study of the world's oceans.